Wow, what a nice reception.
I know.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Have we all had a lovely day at CreatorIQ Connects? There are two things that stand between you and cocktails. Those two things are Jess Hunt and me. Jess, we have done 2 panels in 1 week. We've coordinated.
Reese is sick of me at this point, you guys.
We've coordinated our outfits twice in a row. I feel like we've developed a real sisterhood. So it raises the question of when are you going to apply for a job at CreatorIQ?
I mean, after this, guys, I think get me a few drinks and it'll be sign the contract.
Well, last week we introduced Jess as the Beyonce of beauty in the UK. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce her here under the same title. You are absolutely incredible. I think you already deserve a warm round of applause just for being here.
Thank you.
Well, thanks so much for staying here and being with us for this final panel. It's our pleasure to close the day out with you. We have a lot of exciting topics to go through today, specifically Jess's journey from creator to co-founder, the development of a core REFY community, and what it really means to be an authentic REFY creator. All values that are at the heart of what Jess does and at the heart of the brand. Now, Jess, we knew you as a trailblazing influencer and now a trailblazing co-founder, but I'd love to know in your words a bit more about you.
So, hi everybody. Just want to reiterate what Reese said and say a huge thank you for us, well, you all, for being here with us today. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Jess. I'm the co-founder and creative director of REFY Beauty, and REFY's biggest mission is to essentially simplify beauty and encourage you to feel like your most confident selves. So yeah, I guess my journey kind of started, as Reese said, as a content creator, and that feels like a lifetime ago. I guess I kind of just started working as a creator, probably when it wasn't even really a role as such. I feel like I started on Instagram, and this was kind of at a time where I feel like nobody really knew the potential of where this app was going to go. And essentially I was kind of just like posting content that I really loved. And I was just sharing it with like my friends and my family. And over a long period of time, very fortunately, I was able to grow a following and of course build the trust and nourish that relationship with my following over many, many years. And in turn have so many amazing experiences like this one today, and also working with so many amazing brands on different projects. And I actually met my co-founder Jenna on one of these projects. Yeah. Should I say a little bit about that story?
Sure.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, my co-founder's name is Jenna Meek, and she is absolutely incredible. She is a trailblazer when it comes to the industry and is just such a great person. But this kind of the whole reason why REFY began was because we were on a shoot together one day, a very long time ago. And at this time I was doing my eyebrows, and I don't think I realized how dramatic this was, but at this time I was using around 2 gels and 3 brushes just to set my brows in place. And I would always go for that really like brushed up, defined finish. And I found that these were the only products that kind of gave that look and held all day. And little did I know, I was on that shoot with Jenna that day, and she was watching me do my brows and was just asking me all these questions like, why are you doing your brows in this way? Why are you using all of these products? So I explained step by step what every single element did and how it created this look. And of course, Jenna's entrepreneurial brain was like, oh, okay, I feel like there's something in this. And it wasn't until later that day on our lunch break that we actually sat together and essentially drew out what is our now best performing brow sculpt product. And we literally just drew it up on our iPhones. So it was so makeshift. And a few weeks later, Jenna got back in touch to say that she'd actually presented this idea to a lab and they were interested in developing it with us. Yeah. So that was a very long time ago. I want to say about 8 years ago. Yeah. And then obviously 2 to 3 years later, we launched the brand in November 2020. And yeah, it all started from there. Essentially just 2 people that were makeup consumers, not makeup artists, that wanted to simplify their routine, and yeah, we started with the brows.
Incredible. And I want everyone to hold on to 2 things that Jess just mentioned. One is that as a creator, what was really important was developing a sense of trust with her community. And the second, just really posting content that she loves. But before we get into some of those things and how that translates into now what you deem to be an effective REFY creator, I just want to set the scene a bit for what that journey has meant. So back in 2020 when REFY launched, there were around 500 creators mentioning the brand, around 2,000 posts.
Wow.
Fast forward 4 years to the end of 2024, REFY consistently ranks as a top 25 luxury beauty brand that has grown its community tenfold and its post count tenfold. So you ended the year with 3,500 people just in the UK mentioning REFY across 20,000 posts.
Wow.
Now we're going to get a bit into what exactly it means to you to have an effective REFY creator, but I'd love to know what came for you first. Was it being a creator or was it being a co-founder?
So, as I kind of mentioned, it was being a creator first, and to be honest with you, I had no idea that I'd ever be in this role, in this position. As I said, I was just creating content that I loved and just wanted to share it with the people that I loved, and it kind of just snowballed, if I'm honest with you. And of course, as I said, working on these incredible projects and with these amazing brands it probably gave me so much insight into what it takes to be an incredible brand. And of course, I was able to meet my co-founder, Jenna, and that's kind of where the whole idea sparked. But I think it's actually so valuable for me now, having experience in both fields, because I feel that I really see working with creators so differently, probably because, of course, I have REFY, so I'm always thinking, okay, how can I really make this creator feel valued? How can I make them feel excited? Let's not just do one piece of content with them or one activation. Like, let's make this a really beautiful long-term relationship. And then, of course, from the other side, I think it's even now when I get the opportunity to work with different brands, and that doesn't happen as often as what it used to, but I think I'm always thinking about the brand now. So it's really helpful for me, especially when I'm creating content, because I'm always thinking, okay, how does this kind of like match the brand's values and what they're trying to educate? And it's super helpful just being able to see both sides when it comes to working on content now. Yeah,
well, you've certainly always been one step ahead, potentially even with my questions, because you've answered the next one.
Sorry.
But I would absolutely love to know how your history as a creator has informed how you work with creators now. How do you structure relationships? What questions do you ask? What do you look for? That is really rooted in your previous experience working with brands yourself.
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest things for me and the team at REFY is authenticity. I think that's evident in everything that we do, and we just love working with creators that are already fans of the brand. Maybe they already use the products, and the alignment just feels so natural then. And I think when a collaboration or a partnership happens there, it really resonates with their audience and the REFY audience, because they're familiar with that person, and maybe their audience is familiar seeing them with REFY, so it makes so much sense. And I think that's such a great way for us as a brand to be able to communicate a piece of education. Maybe it's a new product and we need to give a little bit more of an understanding on how to use it. But then I also think one thing that we absolutely love doing at REFY is a lot of UGC. And also working with our community. That's something that we're super passionate about. Being community first is actually one of our main core values at REFY, and we try and show that through absolutely everything that we do. And I think a really good example of this is our concealer project that we did, over a year ago now, and it was so, so amazing. So essentially, REFY launched its first concealer, and we launched this with 16 shades, and we worked so closely with our community, and this includes customers of the brand, this works with people that are in our focus groups, it also includes creators, and we work with them on developing this formula and then perfecting the 16 shades. And after that, once we got to that point, the community essentially lived with the product in their routine. They were able to give us feedback, and that really helped us to get the shades perfect and the formula to the best possible place that we could. And then once we are then on to the creative and the campaign, this was probably one of my favorite moments of the brand so far. We essentially took this project that we called the Concealer Project, and we took it from the US all the way to the UK. And the whole purpose was essentially to just show our concealer on as many faces as possible, ensuring that we were shade matching absolutely everyone, and just shooting this beautiful campaign. I think it was so important to us that we wanted to be able to show just every face that is the REFY face, and I wanted our wider community to be able to look at this campaign and see themselves in this campaign. So not only did we shoot 1,000 people, which was a logistical nightmare, but it was so worth it. But we were able to shade match everyone also, and I think the content that was the strongest from that entire campaign, obviously seeing the beautiful faces, but it was the reactions of the people trying the product for the first time and being like, whoa, like I can't believe the difference it's made, or how it feels, or how I look, or how I'm feeling for wearing this product. And I think that's what spoke volumes. So I think working with creators that are also customers to begin with is so impactful.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned some really incredible and effective community building techniques to build retention, bringing influencers into the brand. REFY is about to hit its 5th year, so I imagine you're at a really pivotal moment of scaling the business, also really wanting to make sure that you hone in on the people that are most effective for you. I'd love for you to kind of speak us through how you see your work with creators evolving. How are you balancing a really big community with making sure that you have those tight-knit relationships?
Absolutely, and I think this is one thing that everyone in the team understands as well, whether it's logistics or finance, that we are, I guess, a creator-led brand, and I think that's one thing that I'm just so passionate about, and I know the team is passionate about as well. I think they really do understand the impact and the importance of the creator and the impact that they do have on the business. So it's always been a priority for us to involve creators and our community as creators in majority of our campaigns and in as many elements as possible. I think it's so true that you said about how we can relook at how we're doing things as well, because that's really a focus for us. And one of our biggest values, again at REFY, not only community first, but is also to lead and to not follow. And essentially that just means trying to do things in a new and exciting way and not necessarily follow the trend, but do it in the REFY way or set the trend. So that can sometimes be a little bit harder to do, but it's so fun when we get to experiment and try with different ideas. And I think it's not groundbreaking, but one thing myself and the team are absolutely loving is actually doing creator days in-house, and that is with UGC, and that's also with some, I guess, creators with bigger followings as well, because I think the feeling was, I know in my past when I've worked with a brand and I've been given a product to explain to my audience, for example, but maybe this was like my first time feeling it, touching it. Maybe I'm already familiar with it, but I'm not going to communicate it or show it maybe in the way that the brand was hoping. So I think what's been really helpful about having these creator days in-house, not only has it been really helpful for the REFY team to be there from an education point of view to, before we even start shooting, to say like, look, this is the product, this is how we use it, this is the key education behind it. And if they want to mention that, great. If they don't, totally cool. But I think it's just really nice having the education side as part of the beautiful content creation, and in turn, having that creator there to also teach us, to be like, this is how I shoot this, and this is like what my audience like to see, and this is how I do it. And I think it's just been, I know the team will agree with me, so, what's the right words? Educational to learn from these amazing creators as well. And that's been a really fun thing to work on. And then I think, I guess, another thing would be probably just doing more things in real life. I think that's a huge focus for us, and not just necessarily keeping to the same standard of beauty content as such, and just makeup tutorials. But then that just made me think of another thing. Another thing that we love to do, of course, is working with those creators that maybe are makeup focused, and that's great for getting the education out there. But say we are talking to a product that's new and that is high performance, then maybe we're not even going to work with a beauty creator. Maybe we're going to work with someone that does marathons. And then I feel like it's more exciting for us to share this product with, for example, someone that runs marathons, for them to experience it, for them to test it. Of course, they've got no real, what's the right words? No real relationship with the brands. They truly are testing it for the first time. And I think that content is then super authentic and really exciting to see, and something really different than what we're already seeing out there in terms of the content that we see.
Yeah, certainly some of the best strategies that I see is when brands are just testing and learning. There's so many different avenues that we can go down. I want to be a REFY creator now. But one thing that I really want to kind of end this day with, not this panel, is really cutting through the word authenticity. So we hear it all the time. It's a massive buzzword. Brands look for it. We recommend it. When you are distinguishing one creator from another, what really stands out to you as authentic? What are you looking for in that creator's DNA to go and say, yes, this is someone that we are going to either experiment with or include in our community?
I think it's just that consistency piece. And I know you said it's good to experiment. I definitely believe that too. But I also think this is probably something that I see a lot of creators that we work with, what they're really good at doing. Even if there is a trend that they might be taking part in, they're doing it in their way. It's always their way, and it's super clear on who they are. Maybe it's, for example, say they're into chatty, their whole thing is chatty videos, for example. if I saw them doing like a really quiet, pulled back video, I'd think, oh God, that's not true to them. So I think it is just super important, whatever the content might be, is just staying true to who you are and not necessarily getting caught up in the trends. I think that's something that I always say in-house, that maybe, yeah, there's this like fun TikTok dance going on, but does that speak to REFY? Does that speak to who we are as a brand? Probably not, but just trying to do things in the way that's most authentic to you is clear. And then obviously it's the thing that I said before, just already showing a brand that you truly love, for example, like what is actually in your everyday routine, because how special is that to be able to work with brands that actually are in your everyday routine, rather than just thinking, oh, yeah, this would be a good idea. I think it is, brands are always looking, and I think you'd be surprised, because we know what it's like in-house. If we see someone that we really like their content, and their brows might always look like the REFY brow, but they've maybe never said it out loud or showed the product, I'm already thinking it in the back of my mind, like, oh, that looks like a REFY brow. So if there is a piece of content where they're like, oh, and I use this, and it's REFY, then that to me is so exciting, because that's when an alignment feels like it makes sense.
Yeah, this is great news for me, because I definitely can't dance, so
I'm awful.
Good to know I'm a fit.
Awful, yeah.
We also saw earlier this morning that EMEA is really spearheading in terms of spend, in terms of size, in terms of just doing incredible things with creators. And as a part of that, all of my customers are looking to optimize every part of the funnel. One part of that is what you referred to, which is UGC.
Yeah.
So I have some customers that are looking to partner with platforms, with agencies to really scale that part of their community. Can you talk us through what role UGC plays in your community, and any strategies that you found really effective to kind of amplify that voice?
Absolutely. We value UGC so much at REFY. I think it's been something that's come up over the past couple of years that has actually been, well, a lot of the time some of our top performing content, which is so interesting to see. And then us as a brand, it just makes me feel so proud when I see that style of content, because it means that the creator has resonated with the brand, they love the product, and they want to associate themselves with the brand, which is so, so impactful. And I think that makes me feel so excited. So us as a brand, we love to then reshare that content, we love to champion that content, and I hope that sends a message, I guess, to the wider REFY community, that REFY does truly champion you, showing that support to the brand, and we see you. And in turn, hopefully sparks more creativity, because that's just something that I absolutely love. And then I think one thing that's really helped us in terms of incentivizing that content a lot more has been affiliate links. So we've been doing that, I would say, for around a year now. And we've actually seen quite a great success rate with that, in terms of people obviously using those and then content off the back of that. But if I'm being completely honest with you, I feel like some of the best performing content has just been from creators that have literally bought the product, put it on, not even mentioned the brand name, and it's just gone completely crazy.
Yeah.
So, and obviously that kind of marketing, you can't even plan it, you can't even prep for it, it's just a fluke. So I think that's just testament to how good the products are and the performance, when someone's just actually wanting to show the result rather than the actual brand itself.
Yeah, and day to day, how do you as a brand keep up with those trends? So similarly, I see a lot of brands tapping into when a creator just randomly does something, it does really well, it might spark a challenge, it might incentivize other creators to do something similarly. How do you and your team stay on top of those trends and evolve with those trends?
I think one great example that I can speak on is this amazing girl called Bronwyn. And it's actually crazy. She essentially posted this video on her TikTok to her 200 followers, and she was literally doing her eyelashes using the lash sculpt. I don't know if any of you guys have seen this video, but it was absolutely insane. And you couldn't even see the brand logo, you didn't know what brand it was, but Bronwyn's lashes just looked incredible. They were super lengthened and just super full, and that's essentially what the product does. And all of a sudden, power of social media, it just started getting so much traction, so many views, the comments were going crazy. People were literally commenting saying, like, why are you gatekeeping this product? Tell us what it is. And people were getting quite aggressive. And we were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, poor Bronwyn, because I think, sorry, was that me?
Yeah, that was me.
It was the shock.
Just keeping everyone awake.
Yeah. But poor Bronwyn, because of course she did not expect this to happen. She was literally doing her mascara for her friends and family, I guess, and it just went completely crazy. And that actually resulted in a video which had 80 odd million views, and it actually sold out the the lash sculpt in the Sephora stores in the US and Canada in 72 hours, which was insane, and her following just skyrocketed. So we're just so grateful for Bronwyn. She is incredible, and that's an example of a piece of content that I could have never planned for. She didn't even mention the brand. She had no agenda. And that was obviously somebody that went into store, bought the product and used it, and it just went completely crazy. And Bronwyn is someone that we work with constantly now. She's incredible, and we keep that relationship with her because I feel like people now go to her knowing that she's a makeup consumer, and she'll be very honest and show the products for real, because that's exactly what that video was. And even with that piece of content, we ended up using that on paid ads, and Sephora US wanted to use that on paid ads. So yeah, it was really, really amazing for the brand.
I think that is a real best-in-class example of being responsive and leaning into what your community is doing. To your point of those things being circumstances that you can't really plan for, I think I'd like to switch slightly to circumstances that you can plan for. So earlier you spoke about eventing specifically.
Yeah.
We see a huge uplift in the US and across Europe in brands using events as a way to reward creators, but also to retain those relationships and keep them invested. You had a huge trip last year to Mallorca. You also have had some incredible pop-ups that I think really speak to the REFY experience that you're creating. I would love to know what your motivation is for creating those offline experiences and how that translates into online results.
Absolutely. So we're a brand that was actually born in November 2020, so obviously it was a bit of a weird time, just coming out of the pandemic, and I think us as a brand, we were just craving that in real life connection more than ever. So to be able to do that is just so exciting for us, and that has been a huge focus for us as a brand, I would say for nearly 4 years now, just trying to do as much as possible in real life. Because I know myself, the moments that have been so special to me have been, for example, when I used makeup for the first time when I was a kid with my grandma, and she would come round and have this makeup bag, and she might have just been coming for literally an hour to have a tea with us. And she would go off to the bathroom and touch up her lipstick, and I'd go with her, and she'd put the lipstick on me. And that moment to me was just so special. And I think that was like my first introduction to makeup. And then an example that I always think of as well is whenever I'm going out with my friends or maybe away with my friends, often the best part of doing that is the getting ready part. And I just think that is something that really sticks out to me in moments that I want to be able to create for our REFY community, are those in real life moments where like bonds are made, core memories are made, and it's a really special time. And of course, we can do that through playing with makeup, but I think to your point, REFY likes to do things in a little bit of a different way. So we're almost always thinking, okay, our community loves experimenting with makeup. What else do they like doing? So one thing in particular was that they loved going for like Pilates and matcha, and that's something that I love to do as well, conveniently. So we put together the REFY Pilates studio, and this was just a moment for our community to come down and just spend time with us, enjoy Pilates, get a matcha with us. And to this point, it was just basically a moment to build that relationship even further and gather information and spend time with them, because some of the community were even saying like, oh, can I pick up a brow product here? Can I get a lip? And we were like, sorry, we didn't actually bring any products. Like, this was just vibes. So it was just really nice to spend that time with them. And then to your point that you said, Reese, we did something really fun last year. We went to Mallorca, which is actually one of my favorite places. And instead of doing the traditional PR and influencer trip, we actually flipped it on its head, and we did a community trip. So we essentially took away 8 of our most engaged and, I guess, supportive community members that had been with us from the very start until now. And we took them away on, I would just say, like a REFY summer experience, and it was so special. And we did like a beach club, we did a wine bar, we did like getting ready together around the kitchen table, and it was just really fun and really wholesome. And the people that we took away, yeah, they maybe didn't have the biggest followings, and we didn't prioritize taking any content on that trip, but it was just a way for us as a brand to show up and say thank you, and thank you to those community members that have shown so much support to us and to the brand from day one until now. And I think it sent a message then to the wider community as well, that REFY truly does see you, and we support our community, and we're not just saying it, we're showing it. And I think we're going to do something a little bit fun again this year, so I can't wait for that.
Ooh, where are we going?
Yeah, where are we going? Yeah, wherever you're going. No, I'm not allowed to say, sorry.
I love it. Last week you, at CEW, shameless plug for the CEW events, you mentioned something that has stuck with me, which is the goal of that event was not reach. It wasn't necessarily to have this like huge online moment for all these people with big followings to like show that they're on a REFY trip. I think there can be some barriers for other brands to do something similar where ultimately there might be a goal. So I would love to know if that has just always been the vision that you've had for events and how you engage with influencers, or if there was a journey that it took to really prove the worth of eventing.
Absolutely. We in-house, I think everyone's bored of hearing us say this, but we always say brand first. And I think in the early days, that was a hard thing for, not to pick on people, a hard thing for maybe like the finance team to get their head around, like, what do you mean we're spending all this money on this fun trip for everyone to go to Mallorca? Like, how is that making sense in terms of the numbers? But there are moments that we kind of identify, and we kind of do this with our creators as well, like, is this a brand moment or is this like a conversion moment? And to me, sounds bad, but majority of our moments are not necessarily about conversion. I think, well, REFY is going to be a legacy brand. I see that for the brand, and I think the only way to do that is to remain brand first. I think if we just constantly focused on the number, which obviously is important in terms of a business point of view, but if we just constantly focused on that number, then we probably would just end up selling our souls, and we wouldn't be this brand that truly gives back and cares for our community and shows up for our community and is able to do fun things like a Pilates studio and a matcha. To me, that's so much more exciting and so much more rewarding to be in spaces like this and to maybe hear from some of you guys that you noticed those activations or you thought it was cool. And same for our community, for them to come away saying they had the best time on the Mallorca trip, and maybe they just have that one memory that will stick with them forever, and it means that they buy the product time and time again and pass it on to their children maybe. And I think that is how a brand with legacy is built, rather than just quick wins. And I think by showing up in real life and showing our community that we do love them, support them, and we see everything they do for us and we want to do the same for them, I'm hoping that that message is clear.
Yeah, it feels like the constant thread through everything you've shared today is really trust. So trusting that your creators are true fans of the brand, trusting that you're really listening to them, and making them feel that they can trust you as well. So one of the things that you've developed that I'd love to talk about is REFY World. So tell us a bit more about the initiative, about how customers benefit from it, some of the things that they can receive by being a part of REFY World, and I guess what the main goal of REFY World is.
Absolutely. So this is a fairly new concept and something that I'm so excited about. But essentially, it's a platform for our most engaged community members to join, and as they progress through orders and the more they purchase with us, they'll progress through the levels. And some of the offerings that we have are honestly so incredible. We have anything from a full-size product all the way to being the first to know about the REFY focus groups that go on, the REFY, for example, the Mallorca trips, that's how they'd find out. We do so many activations in real life, and it's not even just stuff that are the big moments, as I said, like Mallorca, but there's constantly groups that are working behind the scenes on new product launches so closely with my product team that they're years ahead, and they're part of these launches. They're the ones that are living with these products, trialing these products. So you get access to hopefully being a part of that, and of course, knowing about any newness, any sales that are coming up. And it's kind of just our way of saying, again, thank you, and kind of giving back to our community that supports us so much. And essentially just making sure that they're the first to know absolutely everything. We haven't got it perfect just yet. There's still a way to go. But if anyone has any ideas, please tell me. And we're working so closely with the community on this too, just to make sure we get it perfect for them.
Yeah, amazing. So it's really clear to me that you have an incredibly unique perspective of creator to co-founder. It's been incredible hearing about your journey. We have in the audience some creators, we have in the audience some co-founders, founders, people you know in the business. So I'd love to know, now that you're a real leader in the kind of business of beauty, what's one lesson that you would impart for brands looking to work with creators?
I honestly think just don't overthink it. And I know that sounds like a cop-out answer, but we are just so black and white with it when it comes to our community, and even creators. I think we're very much, it's almost like I trust too much in everyone else's opinions now, which I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but to the point that if I'm confused whether we should do, or us in the house, we're confused whether we should do a red lip or a pink lip, we'll just straight out send an email to the community, what lip do you think? And then that's decision made. And then I think it is just about constantly gaining, constantly gaining feedback and actioning that straight away. I think the beautiful thing about the day and age we're in now is the fact that we can see feedback real time and act on it quickly, and just is that instantness, which is so, so amazing. And then I think in terms of creator, it's just about thinking how you can do things in a new and exciting way. And I know that sounds very vague, but I feel like people are wanting that in real life more than ever. And I think there's so many ways that content can be created and collaborations can happen, not just on our phones.
Yeah.
So thinking a little bit more that way.
Yeah, incredible. Well, Jess, it has been a real pleasure hearing from you.
Thank you.
Somehow our half an hour has
I know,
absolutely
that's
flown by.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Reese.
Yes, for sure. I think we all owe Jess a huge round of applause.
And you. Thank you. It's so good.
Yes. Thanks so much for joining us, for sharing so many wonderful insights.
Yeah.
To everyone in the crowd, that brings us to the end of CreatorIQ Connect Europe. We just want to say that we are so grateful for all of you being here. This has been a truly amazing event, definitely my favorite so far. I think as we close the day, we have some cocktails, which I'm sure everyone will love. I think everyone really takes the time to kind of show up and be engaged. These events don't happen overnight. So truly, thank you to everyone for being here. Hopefully we see you at our next city tour and again at Connect next May.